Zire sat on the edge of the cold metal table, her violet eyes fixed on the red numbers flashing above the door. The countdown had begun. She knew what it meant. Every girl on her planet knew. Once the timer started, there were only 72 Earth hours left. If she didn't bond with a mate, her body would shut down. One by one, the inactive girls died, not from sickness, but from their own biology. It was how the Xerelian species kept their bloodline strong. Only the active, only the chosen survived. Zire was now one of the last unbonded females on her homeworld. All the others were gone. A soft knock came from the glass wall. The scientist behind it, a human named Dr. Lennox, wore a worried look. "She's stable," he whispered to the nurse, "but her body temperature is dropping. She won't last long if we don't act." Zire couldn't hear the words, but she could read their faces. She could feel their fear. Not fear for her, but fear of her. If her death triggered a biological chain reaction, it could contaminate everything nearby. Her kind had a strange energy, powerful, ancient, and dangerous when not controlled. Zire closed her eyes and whispered to herself, "I don't want to die like them." Her mother had cried when she left. "Maybe a human will accept you," she said, pressing a silver pendant into her hand. "They're different. They care. They don't choose mates with status like we do. Maybe one of them will see you." But Earth was confusing. No one looked at her. No one spoke to her. People rushed by, staring at glowing screens, drinking bitter-smelling drinks, laughing at things she didn't understand. No one saw her fear. No one knew she was dying. She had landed in a secret human base deep in snowy Alaska, a place built for cross-species emergencies. Other alien girls had come here before. Few left alive. Dr. Lennox stepped into the room. "Zire," he said gently, "we're moving you to the civilian zone. There's a man there. He doesn't know what you are, but he's kind. Maybe he can help." Zire nodded weakly. Her skin was turning faintly blue, a sign her core was starting to freeze inside. They placed a coat over her shoulders, gave her a translator device, and let her out into the cold. Meanwhile, in the nearby town, Jake Turner tightened the last bolt on a broken snow truck. The engine coughed, then roared to life. He wiped his greasy hands on his shirt and smiled. "Still got it," he muttered. Jake had lived alone since the war. A quiet mechanic, ex-soldier, heart full of scars. He didn't trust aliens, didn't trust people much either, but he never turned away someone in need. As he walked back into his garage, a knock came at the door. It was Dr. Lennox. "She needs shelter, just for a day," he said, motioning to the girl beside him. "She's not dangerous, but she's in trouble." Jake frowned. "What kind of trouble?" "She has 65 hours left to live," the doctor said quietly. "Unless she bonds with someone, emotionally, physically, it's complicated." Jake stared at the alien girl. She was shivering, her skin glowing softly in the dim light. Her eyes looked at him, not with power, not with demand, but like someone begging to breathe. "I'm no doctor. I'm no hero," Jake said. "But you are human," the doctor replied. "And sometimes, that's enough." Jake stepped aside and let her in. Zire looked around the small garage apartment, tools on the walls, a worn-out couch, and a tiny heater buzzing in the corner. It was nothing like the shiny towers of her planet, but it was warm. It smelled like oil and firewood. Jake handed her a blanket. "I don't know what you eat," he said, "but I've got soup." Zire smiled, just a little. It was the first time someone had spoken to her like a person. As she sat on the couch, she looked up at the small clock on the wall. 17. The countdown was still ticking. But for the first time, hope stirred inside her. She whispered in her language, "Please, let this human save me." The heater in Jake's small cabin hissed softly as Zire sat wrapped in a blanket, hands trembling not from cold, but from the pressure inside her chest. She stared at the soup bowl Jake had given her, The steam curled in the air, smelling strange but warm. She hadn't spoken yet. She barely even moved. Jake scratched his head and sat across from her at the small wooden table. He wasn't used to guests, especially not glowing alien girls. With countdowns above their heads. "All right," he said slowly, "you're safe here, but I don't know what you need. You gotta talk to me." Zire looked up. Her lips moved, but no sound came. Then the translator around her neck buzzed and a soft voice translated, "I only have 63 hours left." Jake blinked. "You mean, to live?" She nodded. "My body is programmed. If no emotional bond is formed, the core breaks. I die, like the others." Jake felt a chill crawl down his spine. He had seen soldiers with bombs strapped to them, seen countdowns before, but never like this. "You mean some kind of alien biology?" Zire looked at him, her eyes shimmering faintly. "Your kind. Call it clapping. Ours. Call it activation. It is not just the body. It is the soul." Jake coughed on his soup. "Wait, you mean, you want me to mate with you?" She tilted her head, confused. "Mate? Yes, but not like animal. I must feel seen, wanted, held." She placed a hand over her heart. "Here, or I break." Jake stood up, rubbing his temples. "Lady, I'm just a mechanic. I fix snowmobiles. I eat cold dinners and sleep with my boots on. You want a prince? Not me." Zire whispered. "I don't want a prince and I want to live." The room fell silent. Outside, snow started falling again, soft and slow like ash. The town of Fairlight was quiet, distant lights glowing through the fog. It was the kind of night where even wolves stayed hidden. Jake poured himself some coffee and tried not to look at her. But he kept glancing. She looked so fragile. Not weak, but close to breaking. Her blue skin was losing color. Her breathing had become shallow. He sat down again, leaning forward. "Tell me more," he said. "How does this activation work?" Zire hesitated, then touched her translator. "In my species, the female carries a core, energy passed down from our ancestors. If no bond is formed by maturity, the core becomes unstable. First, the body weakens. Then the nerves shut down. Finally, the heart just stops." Jake swallowed hard. "How do you bond?" he asked. Zire looked at him seriously. "Not just touch. Connection. Trust. I must believe. Someone truly wants me near, that I'm not alone." Jake let out a long sigh. "You came all this way, risking everything, hoping a random human would care." Zire's voice was soft. "Yes, because your kind is known for heart, for sacrifice, for miracles." That hit Jake harder than he expected. After everything he'd lost, his unit, his old life, even his dog, he'd buried his own heart under cold silence. Now this strange girl sat in front of him, dying, and trusting him to save her. Later, that night, Jake gave her his bed and took the couch. He couldn't sleep. He kept watching the red numbers glowing from the corner of the room. 1:18 every second, a reminder. Every breath she took slower than before. At 2 a.m., he heard her whisper from the bed. "Jake?" He walked over. "Yeah? I don't want to die in silence." He sat beside her. "You won't. Can I hold your hand?" She asked. He hesitated only a second before reaching out. Her fingers were cold but soft. She closed her eyes. "This helps. More than you know." Jake sat there for a long time, holding her hand while the wind howled outside. And for the first time in years, he whispered something back. "I'm here." Morning sunlight peeked through the small cabin window, casting a golden glow across the room. Jake had barely slept. He was still sitting beside Zire, her hand gently resting in his. She looked better, only slightly, but her breathing was still shallow, and her skin had a soft bluish tint. The red countdown still pulsed faintly on the small wrist device. She wore 59-23-41. Jake rubbed his face. "Okay. I need to know exactly what we're dealing with. If I'm going to help, I need to understand. Zirei slowly sat up. You want details? Jake raised a brow. Yeah. No more half explanations, no more cryptic words like activation or energy collapse. Speak to me like I'm 5. Zirei nodded. Your word for it is clapping. Yes. Jake nearly choked on his coffee. I mean, it can be called that, but we usually don't talk about it so casually. Zirei blinked. On my world, it is sacred, not casual. If we do not bond, our bodies decay. It is like your flower that must be watered, or it wilts. Jake gave her a skeptical look. Flowers don't explode when they don't get enough love. Zirei gave a weak smile. Mine will. She paused, then touched her chest gently. Inside me is a living crystal called the Sala core. It is passed down from mother to daughter. It holds memories of all our ancestors, but it must connect with a living spirit. Someone who chooses us, not just touches us. Jake's voice softened. So it's not just about mating? She shook her head. No. Physical joining is part of it, but meaningless contact that kills faster. It must be real. It must mean something. Jake scratched the back of his neck, processing everything. So you're saying a human, a guy like me, could save your life if he really wants to be with you. Not for fun, not for curiosity, but because he means it. Zirei nodded. Yes, but it is rare. Even on my world, it rarely happens without pressure. She hesitated. You are the first male to hold my hand and not recoil. Jake looked away for a moment, then muttered, You're the first girl to call me male like I'm a lab animal. She smiled faintly. They sat quietly for a moment, listening to the wind outside. Jake finally stood. All right, new plan. I'm not going to clap a girl I just met, but I'm not letting you die either, so we're going to do this my way. Zirei blinked. Your way? He nodded. We spend one full day together, a real one. You eat human food. We talk. We share stuff. You get to know me, and I get to know you. And if, by the end of it, something clicks, we take the next step, but not before. Zirei looked surprised. You are delaying the bond? Jake grinned. Call it human strategy. No shortcuts. Later that day, Jake showed her how to make eggs, badly. He spilled milk on the counter, then dropped a plate. Zirei jumped at the sound but laughed, her first real laugh since arriving. He gave her a pair of socks and told her not to wear them on her hands. She did it anyway. They watched an old sci-fi movie on his laptop. Zirei whispered, Your movies lie. Space is not that clean. Jake laughed. You have no idea. As the day passed, her glow returned, brighter this time. Her skin slowly warmed. The countdown slowed slightly. At 4:39 that night, Jake sat on the couch while Zirei rested in his bed. He could hear her soft breathing. He opened an old photo from his drawer, him with his unit back when he wore armor and thought the galaxy could be saved with bullets. Now here he was, trying to save a girl with kindness. Was it working? Was he really the only one who could reach her? His hand went to the blanket still warm with her presence. He whispered, Why me? From the bed, Zirei replied in a soft voice, Because you saw me and didn't look away. The snowstorm outside raged harder as night fell again over Jake Turner's small cabin. Inside it was quiet. Too quiet. Zirei sat near the fireplace, her knees pulled close to her chest, blanket wrapped around her glowing skin. Her energy flickered softly, like a dying lantern. Jake watched her from the kitchen, arms folded, jaw tight. He had spent the whole day trying to distract her from the countdown. Movies, food, small jokes. But now the reality was crashing back in. 10:22, 18. The glowing numbers on her wrist device didn't stop, didn't slow. Death was getting closer. Zirei finally broke the silence. You do not trust me. Jake shook his head. No, I don't trust this. Any of it. I'm not used to being told I have to bond with someone or they'll die. Saray looked down. I understand. She stood slowly, weakly, and walked toward the door. Her bare feet made no sound. Jake raised an eyebrow. Where do you think you're going? I will go, she whispered. Find someone else. Maybe another human will accept me faster. Jake felt a strange twist in his chest. You won't survive out there. There's a blizzard, she shrugged. Dying outside? Or dying in... Here, what is the difference? That hit him like a punch to the gut. He stepped forward and gently blocked the door. Look, I don't know how your world works, but where I'm from, we don't walk away from people who need help, even when we're scared. Zray looked up at him, her eyes full of sadness. Then help me. Choose me. Save me. Jake was silent for a long time. Then he sighed. All right, I've got an idea, a deal. Zray tilted her head. A deal? Jake nodded. One more full day, no pressure, no talk of clapping or saving or timelines, just you and me, living like normal people, talking, laughing, maybe cooking again, badly. She blinked. What will this do? Jake looked serious. If we're going to bond, it should happen naturally. If you're asking for something real, I can't fake it. But maybe, just maybe, we'll both feel something worth holding on to. Zray stared at him, confused and hopeful all at once. And if I feel nothing? She asked. Jake stepped closer. Then we still gave it everything we had. You won't go out without being seen. She looked down at her glowing hand. Okay. One day. I agree. Jake extended his hand. Deal? She looked at his palm, then slowly placed her hand in his deal. The next day, Jake took Zray outside during a break in the storm. She wore his old coat, 3 times too big, and boots that flopped when she walked. He showed her how to catch snowflakes on her tongue. She tried, missed, tried again, finally caught one, and giggled like a child. Jake smiled. There you go. They built a crooked snowman. Zray gave it 4 arms and named it Gorlock. Jake had no idea why, but didn't ask. Back inside, they cooked pancakes. She poured half a bottle of syrup on hers. Jake raised a brow. You like sweet things? Zray's eyes sparkled. We have nothing like this. It's like joy, but edible. They watched a nature show. When she saw a bear, she gasped. You live with monsters? Jake laughed. Not quite. They're just hungry, like people. She glanced at him. Are you hungry? Jake paused. Not for food. That evening, Zray leaned against his shoulder on the couch. She felt warmer now, her glow steadier, her breathing normal. She whispered, This feels like activation. Jake's heart beat faster. You sure? She looked up at him, her voice barely a whisper. I don't feel pain. I don't feel fear. I feel chosen. Jake swallowed hard. Then we wait. One more night. Just hold on. Zray smiled softly. One more night. But at midnight, an alarm screamed from her wrist. Jake jolted upright. What's happening? Zray gripped her chest, eyes wide in panic. The core is collapsing. I waited too long. It needs final confirmation. Jake grabbed her shoulders. What do I do? Tell me. She struggled to speak. Say it. Mean it. The words, I want you to live. Say them. From your soul. Jake locked eyes with her, voice shaking but strong. I want you to live, Zray. Not just survive. Live. Her body stiffened, then glowed bright gold, light bursting from her chest like a sun being born. She gasped and collapsed into his arms. The room flashed gold for one terrifying moment, like lightning had struck inside. Jake fell back as Zray's body went limp in his arms. Her skin dimmed, Her breathing slowed, then stopped. Beep, beep, beep. The countdown alarm on her wrist device screamed in high-pitched bursts. The numbers were blinking red now. Ryu, 0521. Voyeur, 0520, only 5 minutes left. Jake shouted, "Ziray! Hey, wake up!" He gently slapped her cheeks. No response. Her body was glowing faint blue, trembling in waves. He stared at the strange lines of light running across her chest, like veins lit from inside. The core inside her was dying, or worse, exploding. Just then, a robotic voice came from her wrist. Critical core collapse. No bond confirmed. Emergency override required. Jake's heart pounded. Override? How? I said I wanted her to live. He looked around the room. Useless tools, flickering lights, cold air seeping in, and then it hit him. It wasn't the words. It was the truth behind them. The connection had to be complete. Heart, mind, soul. And he hadn't gone all the way. Jake leaned in, holding Ziray tightly against his chest. Her face was cold, her breathing, shallow like wind slipping through cracks. "I didn't say everything," he whispered. "I was afraid. But I'm not now." He pressed his forehead to hers. "I want you to live. With me. I want you here. I want to see your smile again. I want to teach you how to burn toast. I want you to stay." The wrist device stopped blinking. The countdown froze. So 3:57, suddenly, her eyes opened, bright with blinding white light. Her chest heaved as if the entire universe had been pulled into her lungs. She gasped hard and screamed, but not in pain. Release energy burst from her body in waves, knocking Jake back. The cabin lights flickered and the air grew warm, thick with static. Ziray floated an inch off the bed, arms stretched wide. Glowing markings bloomed across her skin, symbols from a language older than Earth's oldest mountains. Jake shielded his eyes. "Ziray, can you hear me?" She hovered for a few more seconds and then fell softly back into his arms. The silence after was heavier than any storm. Jake held her close. "Please say something." Ziray opened her eyes. "I heard you," she whispered. "You chose me." Jake let out a shaky laugh. "Yeah, I guess I did." Suddenly, the cabin door burst open. 2 men in black armor, military guards, rushed in with scanners and rifles. "Step away from the alien," one shouted. "Her biosignature just spiked. Is she still alive?" Jake held Ziray tighter. "Back off, she's fine." One of the guards checked the scanner and gasped. "Her core, it's stabilized. She shouldn't be alive. She was declared inactive," the other one muttered. "We've never seen one survive collapse before." Jake stood up, still holding her. "You didn't see me before either." The guards looked at each other. Orders were to take her in if she survived. The command ship wants her for study. Ziray's face twisted with fear. "No. Please." Jake stepped in front of her. "She stays. She's not your subject. She's mine now." The room fell silent. One of the guards finally lowered his gun. "We'll report it as a failed scan. You've got 24 hours before command rechecks." Then they left. Jake locked the door behind them and turned to her. "You okay?" Ziray looked at him in awe. "You said I belong to you." Jake gave a small, embarrassed smile. "Guess I did. Was that too much?" She reached up and touched his cheek. "No, it saved my life." Her skin was no longer pale. Her energy pulsed steady. The countdown timer had vanished completely. Ziray was no longer dying. She was alive, fully bonded, fully human, in emotion, if not in form. Outside, the storm had stopped. But inside Jake's small cabin, something even stranger had taken place. Ziray was no longer the same. She stood in front of the mirror now, staring at herself. Her skin, once cold and bluish, now shimmered with a soft golden glow. The glowing lines that had appeared during the collapse were still there, etched gently like natural tattoos, pulsing slowly with life. Her voice was quiet. "I can hear your heartbeat." Jake, still shaken, leaned against the wall and rubbed his forehead. "Okay, that's weird." "No," she said, turning to him. "Not just the sound. I can feel it. In here." She placed her hand over her chest. "Inside me." Jake stepped closer. "Like a link?" She nodded. "We are connected now. The bond is complete." Jake tried to process it all. "What does that mean exactly? Like psychic link? Life force? Soul tether stuff?" Zirae closed her eyes. "It means I will feel your emotions, your pain, your joy, and you will feel mine. Slowly, it will grow stronger with time." Jake raised both eyebrows. "So, if I stub my toe, you'll cry too?" Zirae gave a small, amused smile. "Only if you cry like a baby." Jake chuckled, and for the first time in days, the tension broke. Later, they sat near the fireplace. The warmth of the flames danced on Zirae's now healthy skin. Her glow had softened, no longer blinding, just warm, alive. Jake handed her a mug of hot cocoa. She took a sip and made a confused face. "It's strange, bitter, sweet, thick." Jake grinned. "Welcome to chocolate. You'll either love it or hate it." She took another sip. "I think I love it." Jake stared into the fire. "You scared the hell out of me, you know." Zirae looked down. "I was scared too. I thought I wouldn't be seen." Jake turned to her. "You weren't just seen. You were chosen. By me. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to." She touched his arm gently. "Then let me choose you back." Their eyes met, and something deep passed between them. It was no longer about survival. It was about connection, belonging, something both had lost and now found in each other. Suddenly, Zirae gasped and held her head. Jake jumped up. "What's wrong?" She closed her eyes, breathing fast. "The bond. It's stabilizing, but changing something in you." Jake blinked. "What?" "In me?" She nodded. "Your cells, your aura. Your body is adapting to me." He looked down at his hands. They looked the same, but something felt different. His chest felt warmer, his senses sharper, his heartbeat steadier. Jake took a deep breath. "Is that dangerous?" Zirae smiled gently. "No, it's rare, but it means your body accepted my core fully. You are now part of the Xerelian link." Jake shook his head in disbelief. "So I'm part alien now?" Zirae's voice was soft. "No, you're still human, but now, more." As night fell again, they sat on the porch watching the stars. Zirae leaned her head on Jake's shoulder. "Back home, I used to look at the sky and wonder if I'd ever be chosen, if I'd ever matter to someone." Jake looked up with her. "I used to look at the stars and wonder if there was anything left worth fighting for." They sat in silence, two souls from two worlds, no longer alone. And then Jake said, "You know, I never believed in fate. But maybe fate believed in us." Zirae smiled. "I'm glad it did." Far away, in orbit above Earth, a Xerelian command ship received an alert. Core signature located, stable, bonded. Subject, Zirae, status, linked to human. Response required, immediate extraction or termination protocol. The alien general narrowed his eyes. She survived, and chose a human. Zirae woke before dawn, a strange tension in her chest. Jake was still sleeping on the couch, one arm over his face, breathing slow and steady. His heartbeat echoed softly through the bond they now shared, calm, warm, safe. But something else stirred beneath her skin, a pull, not from Jake, from them. She stood and walked to the window. Above the snowy sky, far beyond the clouds, she could feel it, the presence of her people. The Xerelian ship had arrived. They knew she was alive. They knew she had bonded. And they wouldn't be happy. Up in orbit, aboard the Xerelian command, Vessel Kataran High General Valor stared at the screen. Her core has fully merged with a human, his second officer said. Unacceptable. The Council forbade cross-species bonding. Valor's eyes narrowed. She's a key-bearer. She carries ancestral energy. That human now shares it. This threatens the purity of our line. Should we activate the recall? Drone? Valor hesitated, then gave the cold order. No, send the hunter. Back in Alaska, Jake finally stirred. He sat up, rubbed his eyes, and yawned. Z-Ray stood over him with worry in her eyes. What's wrong? He asked. They're coming, she whispered. My people. They want to take me. Or kill me. Jake froze. Why? I thought the bond was sacred. It is. But only if it's within my kind. Bonding with a human is considered a betrayal. Jake stood, anger rising. Then they'll have to go through me. Z-Ray reached out and grabbed his hand. They'll go through you, Jake. They have ships, weapons, mind breakers. I don't care, he growled. You're not going anywhere. Just then, the cabin's lights flickered. The ground trembled slightly. Outside, snow blew in unnatural waves like something massive had just entered the atmosphere. A dark shadow passed over the cabin. Z-Ray whispered, It's here. The door burst open. A tall figure stepped in, gleaming black armor, glowing, red eyes and a blade that shimmered with alien energy. It didn't speak. It simply raised its weapon toward Z-Ray. Jake didn't wait. He grabbed the fire poker and rushed forward, swinging hard. Clang. The metal hit the hunter's arm and bent instantly. Jake flew back from the force, slamming into the wall. Z-Ray screamed, running to him. No. The hunter advanced, but just as the blade swung, a bright pulse burst from Z-Ray's chest. The hunter froze mid-strike, paralyzed. Jake gasped, watching as Z-Ray stood tall, eyes glowing golden white. Her voice echoed, not from her mouth but from the bond. He is my chosen. By the ancient right of the core flame you will not touch him. The hunter's blade shattered in midair. His armor cracked. Then, with a blinding flash, he vanished. Banished by the force of the completed bond. Silence returned. Jake slowly stood up, still stunned. What? What just happened? Z-Ray turned to him, weak but standing. The bond. It protected you. Us. When it is real, it becomes stronger than even their weapons. He stepped closer and wrapped his arms around her. That's it. Then, we run. We find a place where they can't follow. But Z-Ray shook her head. No, we don't run. He blinked. What? She looked him in the eye. We lead. Jake stared at her, confused. Then she reached into her chest, into the core, and pulled out a shimmering crystal no larger than a pebble. It floated between her fingers, pulsing with golden light. This, she whispered, is the Heartstone. The true legacy of my people. I wasn't just an outcast, Jake. I was their future queen. Jake's jaw dropped. Wait, you're... She nodded. Now, with you, I'm more. And if we unite both our worlds, maybe we don't have to live hiding anymore. He stepped forward, took the crystal, and closed her hand around it. Then let's start something new. 6 months later, a quiet planet on the edge of the galaxy, fields of golden grass. Children laughing, some with human features, some glowing faint blue, and 2 figures standing hand in hand, watching over them. Z-Ray, no longer afraid. Jake, no longer alone. Together, they had built a sanctuary, a home for bondmates of all kinds, where love wasn't judged by species, but by the strength of the heart.